comments to access@telus.net. We are not Shaw.
All right.
Hello, welcome to our May show for Access TV. I'm Hendrik Beune, here's my partner.
I'm April Smith of AHA Media and Access TV.
Hendrik Beune of AHA Media and Access TV. And this month's theme, it's a little different. It's about the different ways that people work. May Day being the month that we concentrate on labor, the labor theme. And we're also going to have a look at the stability that workers need to get their job and maintain their job, and look at some of the challenges. So we've got a really big show today. We're concentrating on work and stable housing in the downtown east side and how we have built on that. We'll be talking with a number of guests. Our first guest is Alfonso Osorio, an immigrant himself, came over from Argentina in the mid-70s, and he's been very active on migrant workers' rights. After that, we have an interview with Zul Solomon, who is the lawyer that tackled the recent detention and deportation issues, the issues with the Canadian Border Security Agency and Force 4 bus that recorded that. And after that, April, why don't you go on?
We have a community report by the Executive Director and National Chairman of the Chinese-Canadian National Council, respectively Victor Wong and Sid Tan, covering a few issues mainstream media missed the point or just missed. And as we tape this show, it is the 31st day of the hunger strike by formerly homeless Dave. Wendy Peterson is here talking about securing the needs, assets, and tenures of the low-income residents in the downtown east side. We'll also be seeing Tony Laboucaine and Richard Chauvin of AHA Media and Access TV, favorite downtown east side hockey superstars, lacing up their skates for the first time in many years and hitting the ice to work up all that delicious ice cream they get to enjoy while working their new part-time jobs as ice cream salesmen.
But first off, we're off to see Alfonso Osorio on immigrant workers' rights and the situation they live in. Well, welcome back. We're ready for our first interview. Our first guest of today is Alfonso Osorio. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Oh, of course.
And you're here to tell us about the labor movement and your involvement with that. Actually, not so much the labor movement. Of course, the labor movement, but more specifically, the immigrant situation.
Yeah, well, everything is connected in terms that what's going on. It is that the Canada Border Service has conducted a number of raids more than a month ago now. It was on March the 13th that they decided to raid a number of construction sites in the city of Vancouver, where they came with a television crew and they did lots of taping and they arrested a number of people and they quickly deported a number of them, causing lots of pain into families that are relatively well established already in Canada.
I heard one person that was, I believe, deported, really hit the news because he was actually married to a native Aboriginal woman and had children with her, and she was left behind with her 2 kids and her husband was getting ready to be deported.
Yeah, it's a real tragedy, very painful, and the problem it is that the temporary foreign workers program that has been implemented by a conservative government has created lots of problems because in the meantime they produce lots of profits for the corporate sector because they're paying 15% less of what a regular worker would get paid. These people are usually their visa, permits are just for 6 months, and after the 6 months is expire, and then they're not renewed. So many people like Canada and they would like to stay, and that's how they ended up in situations where they become illegal. But like many people said, these people should not be, illegal. And by the way, we should just bring into the topic that in fact no one should be illegal.
Yeah, there's an organization like that, no one is illegal.
Yeah, and they've been very supportive, throughout the whole process because Canada is a country made of immigrants, but the federal government has decided that it's a better deal for corporations to use cheap labor, and they're paying 15% less to these people, and it creates lots of problems. It benefits a segment of the corporate elite, who are getting bigger profits, and then it creates a class of citizens who live in a situation of apartheid, where they have no rights. So it's a real problem for the Canadian economy and for the workers.
Because that money doesn't even stay in Canada, right?
It doesn't stay in Canada most of the time, and it drives wages down, and that's one of the major problems. That it's an unfair situation for Canadian workers that have to in a way compete with all this idea of outsourcing because it's a way of outsourcing, right?
Yeah, well, we just heard from the Royal Bank there was a big blotch of egg in their face when that hit the news, that they were actually importing people from outside and got workers to train them to take over their job, and then the idea was that the whole job was going to be outsourced to another country. So like total void in the Canadian economy. People go, where did these people go that had a job before and get replaced? I mean, who in a sane mind would do something like that?
Yeah, and the RBC situation has extended to other banks, so many different financial institutions in Canada. They are using the same kind of tricks, where they can, use, let's say, attrition, so people, will get in the late 50s and they will get a deal with the bank and they're being sent home, with a little money in their pocket because the bank or another financial institution is outsourcing their jobs. So
originally this came into force though because it was a good idea, right? There was a lack of workers in certain areas, like especially in Alberta, where we have this big oil industry, and in the north, of course, when there was a lot of mining and exploration going on. We have specially trained workers coming in from China to dig out the coal that then is going to be shipped to coal, because we can't burn it in Canada anymore because we want this to be a nice clean country, but we don't mind exporting it because we need the money, right? Is that more or less how it went?
It is very interesting, the whole process, because I was just going back in time, and in 2002, the in question period, the then leader of the New Democrats, Jack Layton, was asking Prime Minister Harper what was going on with temporary foreign workers program. In those days, Mr. Harper was saying that it was for a great advantage of the Canadian economy that these people were coming because most of these people, were going to stay in Canada. Well, the fact of the matter it is that that's not the real, true.
That's not how it comes out in the end.
Not at all. Not at all.
It's like a form of slavery, isn't it?
It is modern slavery, and we're going back in times in terms of rights and in terms of legislation and access, to equality, right? These people do not have equal rights like landed immigrants or Canadian citizens. So they are, being kind of isolated and into an apartheid system that benefit mainly, institutions and corporations, of all kinds, and so I get the impression that all this kind of idea has been planned by the government.
You probably read that book, Animal House.
Yeah, has been planned,
We're
and
all
then
equal, but some people are more equal than others.
Yeah, so we have to correct, and I think this is what we have to, and this is why we bring this issue, into the public opinion, because we have to mobilize. Actually, the BC Federation of Labour has, been mobilizing its resources, in regarding to their participation in the pension plan system or the RBC, right? So the labor movement in Canada has threatened the banks, with withdrawing the money that they have in pension funds from their institutions.
Yes. And that's where you can hit them, in the pocketbook,
yeah,
right?
Of course. So that's that's where you have to go, and you have to create awareness that we live in the 21st century, and this is not acceptable.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So mainly what it is, we have to bring awareness into the public opinion and into the politicians. So we have to change the system, and we have to go back to a system where we have, immigration, regular immigration. And we have to remember too that in the past the government have said that the backlog of immigration, is so huge, so that they cannot deal with that. So what happened in reality, that this situation in terms of regular immigrants has been delayed on purpose. Yeah. So they could open a window for the temporary foreign workers program.
And in a good economy, everybody has a job. It's also been shown in many countries that the more equal society is, the happier people are. And yeah, you know, these people are being displaced out of a job or where the family's broken up. Obviously, that doesn't contribute to the national feeling of happiness with the government. So we can always use our votes. It's another way that we can have some influence. There's money, which is power, and there's people that have power. Right?
Well, there is so much money, and this is another issue that is very connected with this one, that there is so much money in the economy. You know, Canadian business have $1 trillion in cash, you know?
Oh, wow.
So there is a problem in terms of the
that?
distribution of income. You know, there is so much concentration of wealth, and there is no limit to the greed of the business community. You know, and
so all this money is piled up.
The money is piled up, and you know, as much money as you make as a businessman, as a corporate business, it seems it's never enough for them.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not circulating.
So it's not circulating, it's not benefiting, you know, the Canadian public at large. So there is too much concentration of wealth, and these people create laws that, you know, benefit them. And so we have to, as regular citizens, we have to speak up.
Yeah, it's a very short-term goal with the blinders on it. Like, does it really benefit them, their children, their grandchildren? I don't think so.
No, because it produces, you know, poverty, we know that, you know, produce marginalization, and we all suffer, and we see the situation that's going on with, you know, homelessness and all of that. So we have to share the pie.
Exactly. We got to wrap up. We got 1 minute left. Is there anything else you would like to tell our audience?
I think that, you know, our audience should speak up with their member of parliaments. This is a federal law, and that federal law, you know, should be modified. We should... you know, cancel the temporary foreign workers program and go back to the process that we used to have in this country, where, you know, regular immigrants through the immigration system apply and they become landed immigrants and permanent citizens, and we have citizens, new citizens with equal rights.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alfonso.
You're welcome.
It's great to interview you.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Comments to access@telus.net. We are not Shaw.
All right.